The room felt her tense, The room felt tense, but she didn't move. Her husband stood a few steps away, his posture stiff, like he had rehearsed this moment. The other woman remained close to him, confident, almost comfortable in a place that wasn't hers and his mother. She watched with quiet satisfaction, as if this had been inevitable all along. She looked at each of them, slowly, carefully. "Say what you need to say," she said, her voice calm. He exhaled, relieved that she wasn't making it difficult. "I'm done pretending," he said. "This marriage, it's over." The words were direct, cold, but expected. She nodded slightly, not out of agreement, but acknowledged. "And this is how you decided to do it?" she asked, glancing briefly at the woman beside him. He hesitated for a second. "Old more pursuers from some." He hesitated for a second, just a second, then he straightened. "I don't owe you an explanation." That was when his mother stepped in again. "You should be grateful he's being honest now," she said sharply. "You've held him back long enough." The accusation hung in the air. She could have responded. She could have defended herself, listed everything she had done, everything she had sacrificed. But she didn't, because something about this moment felt smaller than it should have. The other woman finally spoke again, her tone smooth. "Let's not drag this out," she said. "It's clear he's ready to move on." She stepped further into the room, as if claiming space. That was when something shifted inside her. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. She walked past them quietly, heading toward the table where her phone rested. Her movements were steady, unhurried. The three of them watched, slightly confused by her lack of reaction. She picked up her phone. The message was still there. "Deal confirmed, 50 billion. Her fingers tightened slightly around the device, but her face remained unchanged. Behind her, her husband spoke again. "I'll have the paperwork ready by tomorrow," he said. "It's better this way." "Better for who?" She turned slowly, meeting his eyes for the first time since he walked in. "You've already decided everything," she said. "It wasn't a question." Then his mother added, "You should leave with some dignity while you still can." That was the moment. The exact moment everything became clear. She looked around the room one last time. The house she had built a life in. The people who had never truly seen her. The voices that once carried weight now felt distant. At alright with Sepals call them off guard. The voices that once carried weight. "All right," she said quietly. The response caught them off. No resistance, no argument, just acceptance. But it wasn't the kind they expected, because while they believed she was walking away with nothing, she was the only one in that room who actually knew the truth, and very soon, they would too. They didn't expect her to agree so easily. For a brief second, the room felt unbalanced, like something had gone off script. His mother frowned slightly, her eyes narrowing as if trying to understand what she was missing. The other woman shifted her weight, her confidence still there, but not as firm as before, and him looked almost relieved. "Good," he said quickly. "That makes this easier." "Easier, you crap." The word echoed in her mind, but she didn't react. Instead, she walked calmly toward the hallway, her step steady, controlled, not rushed, not hesitant, just certain. The three of them watched her go, exchanging brief looks, unsure of why her silence felt heavier than any argument. She entered the bedroom and closed the door softly behind her. For the first time since they walked in, she allowed herself a breath. Her phone was still in her hand. She looked at the message again. "Deal confirmed, 50 billion. Her reflection in the mirror stared back at her, focused, not broken, not defeated, just ready. She placed the phone on the dresser and opened the wardrobe. Inside were neatly arranged clothes, pieces of a life she had built over time. But now, they didn't feel like hers anymore. She reached for a small suitcase, not the biggest one, not the one meant for long journeys. Just enough, because she wasn't running, she was leaving. There was a difference. As she packed, voices from the living room drifted in faintly, laughter, low, careless, almost dismissive. They had already moved on, already begun reshaping the space as if she were no longer part of it. It told her everything she needed to know. She zipped the suitcase and paused for a moment, her hand resting on it. Then her phone buzzed again. Another message. "Congratulations, the board is waiting for your confirmation. Press conference can be arranged anytime." Her eyes remained steady. Press conference, public, visible. She picked up the phone and typed a short reply. "Tomorrow morning." No hesitation, no second thoughts. She picked up her suitcase and walked back toward the living room. They looked up as Dumprumpimpers bruiser. She furting balls, perspalt shawl. DC schimmisum porperal call to rubber vershing. She entered. His mother crossed her arms. "Done already?" she asked, her tone sharp. She nodded. "Yes." The other woman glanced at the suitcase, then at him, a faint smile forming as if everything was going exactly as planned. He stepped forward slightly. "You'll get what's fair," he said, trying to sound reasonable now. She looked at him for a moment. There was silence. Then she spoke. "I'm not taking anything from here," she said. That surprised them. His mother raised an eyebrow. "Of course you're not," she muttered. But the other woman looked more closely, because something about her tone didn't sound like loss. It sounded like choice. She walked past them, heading for the door. Her hand reached for the handle. Just before she stepped out, she paused. Not to look back, not to hesitate, but because she knew, the next time they saw her, everything would be different. The night air felt colder than she expected, but it didn't slow her steps. She walked away from the house without looking back. Conspoed, the sound of the door closing behind her, echoing more like an ending than a loss. For the first time in a long time, there was no noise around her, no judgment, no pressure, just clarity. She placed her suitcase in the trunk of a waiting car and slid into the back seat. The driver glanced at her through the mirror, respectful, quiet. "Where to?" he asked. She paused for a moment, then answered, "The office." The city lights blurred past the window as the car moved forward. Her phone rested in her hand, screen still glowing from the messages she had received. Calls had started coming in now, important ones, persistent ones. She didn't answer yet, not until she was ready. When the car stopped, the building stood tall in front of her, glass reflecting the night sky, lights still on across several floors. It wasn't new to her. She had been here before, many times, but tonight, it felt different. She stepped inside. The atmosphere shifted immediately. People who had been working late looked up. Conversations paused. A quiet recognition passed through the room as she walked by. Not curiosity, respect. A man approached quickly, holding a folder, his expression focused but welcoming. "We've been waiting." She nodded, her steps never slowing. "Is everything prepared?" "Yes," he replied. "Yes. The board is ready." "The board is ready." She entered the conference room. Inside, several individuals stood as she walked in. No hesitation, no doubt, just acknowledgement. The kind that isn't given lightly. "Congratulations," one of them said. "It's official." She took her seat calmly, placing her phone down on the table. "Let's finalize everything," she said. The meeting moved quickly. Numbers were confirmed, signatures placed, decisions made without confusion or delay. This was her world, one she had built quietly, without needing approval, without needing recognition from the people who once doubted her. And now, it was undeniable. As the final document was signed, a small moment of silence followed. Then, someone spoke again. "Press is already asking questions," they said. "They want to know who made this happen." She leaned back slightly, her expression composed. "Tomorrow they'll have their answer." Her phone buzzed again. This time, she looked at it. Multiple missed calls. From him. She stared at the screen for a second longer than necessary, then locked it. Because tonight wasn't about looking back. It was about stepping forward, and somewhere, in a house she had just left behind, was still living in a moment they believed they controlled, unaware that by morning, everything they thought they knew about her would be completely rewritten. Morning came with a different kind of silence. Not the heavy silence of the night before, but something sharper. Anticipation. Across the city, screens lit up, headlines formed, and conversations began before most people had even finished their first cup of coffee. At the house she had left behind, the television was already on. His mother sat upright, her expression tense, remote in hand. The other woman stood nearby, arms crossed, trying to appear calm. And he had barely slept. His phone lay on the table, filled with missed calls he didn't understand. "Turn it up," his mother said suddenly. The screen shifted. A live broadcast, a press conference. The room went still. He walked onto the stage, dressed simply, but with a presence that didn't need anything more. Cameras flashed instantly, voices called out, questions waiting to be asked. But she didn't rush. She stepped forward with calm confidence, the same quiet strength she had carried all along. Remember forward. His grip tightened on the edge of the table. "That's," the other woman whispered, her voice losing certainty. "No," his mother said quickly, shaking her head. "That can't be right." But it was. She reached the microphone and paused for a moment, allowing the room to settle. The noise faded, replaced by focused attention. "Thank you for being here," she began, her voice steady, clear. Behind her, a large screen displayed numbers, figures that didn't make sense at first glance, until they did. "A deal was finalized last night," she continued. "One that will change the direction of this company for years to come." The reporters leaned forward. Questions filled the air, but she raised her hand slightly, maintaining control without force. "No, there are many questions," she said, "but what matters most is understanding how we got here." Back in the living room, no one spoke. They couldn't, because the truth was unfolding in front of them, piece by piece, leaving no room for doubt. "We let it," one reporter said aloud. She's the one behind everything. The words hit harder than anything else. His expression changed, confusion turning into realization, realization turning into something heavier. Regret. On the screen, she continued, composed as ever. Success isn't always loud, she said. Sometimes, it's built quietly, until the moment it needs to be seen. His mother lowered the remote slowly, her face pale. The other woman stepped back, her earlier confidence gone. And he couldn't look away, because the woman they had just tried to erase was now standing in front of the world, unshaken, unstoppable, and completely out of their reach. She finished her statement with calm finality. No anger, no need to prove anything further. The room of reporters erupted into questions, but she stepped back, already done. At the house, the silence returned, but this time, it wasn't empty. It was filled with the weight of everything they had just lost. Not money, not status, something far more valuable. And as the screen faded to headlines repeating her name, they finally understood. She hadn't lost anything that night. They had breathed.